Looks good.
Yes. Perfect.
All right. Right when you guys are. You guys are so close. It's so strange. So intimate.
What's the? I mean, what's it like now being here compared to when you were here maybe like 3 years ago? What's it feeling like?
It still feels like the combine, um, but it is different for us because we got a really good feel for where we're at and where we're headed and what we need and how we're going to go about that process. It's the fourth off season for us together. A lot more familiarity amongst everybody. It's good. It's a good feeling to be here in a spot, knowing that we have a pretty clear path of what we want to get done. And for us, it's just starting. I don't even know who any of these guys are. So I walk in the interviews, and it's the first time I've heard most of their names, to be honest. So it's crazy to think we just played 2 weeks ago, but it's a good process. And now we're full into the player acquisition part of the offseason, and it'll be that way now for the next probably 6 weeks or so, purely on free agency and the draft and all the things that come with the offseason. So feels good. Feels good to be where we're at, and I feel comfortable, and but still got the edge to try to get our team better.
What was your evaluation of Brian Leary when he was healthy? Obviously, he was set to become a free agent.
Yeah.
Before that, but when he was healthy, what did you think? What he did for you guys?
He was great for us. Steadying presence in the room, great leadership. Typical 10-year veteran, guy that had played a lot of football, was really steadying for us at that spot. I thought he played well. It was kind of a bummer to lose him. It was good. We got a chance to see Isaiah play a bunch, which was good for us to see. But he was really solid for us. I'm happy we had a chance to get him come play for us, and I thought he did a good job when he was in there. And it was a bummer to lose him. What was it, 12 weeks into the season? But that's never fun when you lose guys. But he was really good for us, really solid player.
Do you feel like you guys have a current long-term right tackle option on the roster?
We're gonna find out. I think we feel really good about the young players in our building. But you're always looking for whatever's out there to improve. You can improve, you improve. Riley was a good addition for us. Isaiah played well at spots for us through the course of the end of the season. Got a lot of traits that you like with his length and his athleticism and his toughness. But yeah, I mean, we're in that mode now where, you're always trying to find better, really across the board at all positions. And if you can improve your team, you do it. That's what makes the NFL what it is. And so we're every position is looking for improvement, probably other than Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. Those guys are pretty well settled in. But when you can improve your team, you do so, and then you got to keep building and keep climbing to try to get better.
How did you process the game? How many times have you watched it? And we didn't get to talk to you after.
Yeah, I know.
What did you think was the biggest difference in how the Rams were able to get after you guys from the pass?
I thought we had a really solid pass protection plan going in, and it was really good in the first half. And then their good players just turned it on in the second half. They're playing for a championship, and Aaron Donald was who he is. He's the best player in football. And Von Miller can still rush with the best of them, and Leonard Floyd's still a good rusher. They did a good job. They won some matchups one-on-one that they got into. We did our best to try to keep our guys off of one-on-ones with those guys, but you can't do it all the time. And they won their share of matchups down the stretch of the game that really made the difference for them. And it's a great pass rush front. They did that to a lot of teams over the course of the year. It was a nightmare to watch getting ready for, but I thought our guys fought, put us in position really within 50 yards of winning the game, in a game that it was a battle and it was hard, but I thought our guys played well. As far as processing it, though, I would say I watched it once right after when we got back, and that's really kind of it. And you just got to move on because the offseason comes at you quick. We're going to be into these, the combine was coming up within a week, and you got to reset your brain and get ready to do it all over again. And it's a hard thing to do, but you have to do it, and it really just starts over. And you just got to take all the things good and bad from it, and then get ready to go again because the league's not waiting on us. So we're going to have to step up and keep going.
What were your thoughts on the
early in the middle part of the season, Brian? You guys made an emphasis. We've got to find a way to get a yard or two.
Mm-hmm.
Get it. Also propped up in the Super Bowl, first half and second half. Obviously.
Yep.
How do you go about improving that next year?
There's a lot of ways that you can improve it. I thought our execution wasn't great in both of those spots, at a couple different places, but ultimately when it came down to being able to get a yard, we had to do it, and we didn't. And that's a tough spot to be in. It's a tough pill to swallow. But those are the situations you got to be good in. And if you want to be able to get a yard to win the Super Bowl, you got to be able to do that. And obviously we didn't get that done, and it's disappointing for a lot of reasons. but it's going to be a point of emphasis, and you got to be able to get a yard when the game requires you to get a yard, and we didn't.
How many times did you hit rewind on the last play, and maybe can you walk us through the last play? What your thoughts were?
I mean, just enough to know what was there. I think that's a prime example of a great player making a great play. Aaron Donald disrupted the line of scrimmage. He's the one that disrupted the whole thing from at that spot. We were sliding to him. We had Trey was going there. He got around Quentin's edge fast, and that's what he does. He does it to a lot of people. But we were trying to get two guys on him at that point. And then they did a nice job on their coverage scheme. Joe worked the left side, and we had a shot to maybe hit CJ late in the flat, but there wasn't much time. On the other side, Jamar had a go route. He won late in the down, but Joe was looking the other way to try to get the first down. And that's one of those things that in a game like that, in a play like that, it never comes down to that one particular play, but Aaron Donald did his best to ruin that play for us, and he did. He ruined it, but we had chances, we had spots, and if we had a little more time, maybe the ball gets off to either one of the guys in the pattern, but that's just how it goes.
Well,
So-
what do you go ahead.
No, I was just going to follow up. That's something you can't. I mean, as a play caller or a designer,
No.
you just move on to the.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it for a long time, and it's never going to leave you. But you think about what you could have done differently. Was there a different call? How you could have helped on those guys differently? But at the end of the day, the great player made a great play in a huge moment, and that's usually what separates teams in those spots. And they made the play, and we didn't.
What do you make of how the offense looked throughout the year? Because y'all obviously were arguably the most explosive offense in the NFL, but in terms of sustaining drives, it wasn't always there for y'all. How would you go about evaluating how the unit looked throughout the entire year?
Yeah, we're in the middle of that process. Just kind of reflect and go back. We haven't quit the self-scout portion. I could probably answer that question a little bit better in a month or two. But we sought to improve our explosiveness from last year, and we did. And that was a huge part of why we were in the spots we were in over the course of the year. Because of our explosiveness, and that was a big part of it. It's what comes first. Are you explosive because are you not as efficient during the course of the game because you're scoring from further out more often? That's probably part of it. But I do think that there definitely was points in the year where our consistency could have been better, our performance could have been better. But ultimately, I think we did enough to win a lot of the games we played, and particularly down the stretch against some pretty good defenses. So. There's certainly a lot of time to go through and reevaluate all those things and see where we could do better and what concepts were good and where we can be more efficient. But at the end of the day, the explosiveness was a huge part of why we were as successful as we were this year. And so that's something we hope to be able to continue, and then we'll see if we can find ways to be more efficient over the course of the offseason and what we can add and introduce that could help us, particularly in the red zone. I think during the end of the season, we could have found some more ways to score some more points for sure. Oh, very. Very. I mean, I think Frank's an excellent technician. I think our guys got better over the course of the season with technique and how they're going to implement it and ways to get better and improve. I thought they did a really good job. Run game wise, the scheme we've improved in the run game. I thought. I mean, Joe Mixon had a career year. We were efficient when we needed to be efficient. We weren't going to run down anybody's throat by any stretch. That wasn't really who we were, but when we had to run, we ended up finishing games in the run game, and Joe Mixon's a huge part of that. Frank's a huge part of that schematically, and so I was pleased with what we did and how we did it over the course of the year, and certainly there's plenty of room for improvement. I'd like to be in the spots that we need to be better, particularly short yardage, things like that, where we weren't as good over the course of the year, where you wanted to be able to get a yard. Those are spots we can improve, but I thought Frank did a great job. Frank's a great coach, and those guys really responded to him well.
How long does it take to marry that? To marry what you brought to you get to your system. I mean, I'm sure that doesn't happen in the first year.
It goes. It does. I mean, it's not. The system is kind of we've had elements of the system in place. We've been a wide zone team. We just got better at it. We ran it better this year than we had the previous couple of years. Some of that's from familiarities. A lot of that is Frank and the way he teaches it. We do our best to marry those things up. It's a balance in the NFL. It's not perfect because you got quarterbacks that want to be in the gun, and you got runners that want to be under center, and you do your best to marry those things with what the quarterback's comfortable with and how you can be most efficient and effective. It's not a perfect science by any stretch, but yeah, certainly we got some splits that, guns and unders and all those things that we could marry better over the course of this next offseason.
But the concept of what you guys want to do is firmly in
Yeah,
place.
oh yeah, absolutely.
We saw plenty of Samaje here
Yeah.
on third down.
Yep.
Do you, and not just in the Super Bowl last time, in general, do you view Joe Mixon as a three-down back still? Do you still want him to be?
Yeah, you do. I mean, he's done some of that for us over the course of the year. Samaje is an excellent protector, and Joe can't play every single snap of the game, and so you have to pick and choose when he's in and out of the game. He's obviously going to carry the load on first, second down. There's really nobody else who wants to carry the ball in those spots. Samaje does a good job spelling them when needed. But third down is where you can kind of create the breaks. You can give him a moment to take a breather and get ready for the next set of downs. And Samaje is excellent in protection. Took over the role really that Gio vacated when he left. But you have to have that kind of back. You have to have a guy that can go in and protect consistently when a 3rd and 9 when they're going to pass. And Samaje did a great job. That was a good role for him. And there's always going to be a division of labor in the backfield. Very rarely are guys on the field for all 3 downs all the time. But Samaje's role is that. He's our protecting back. He's our 3rd down, 2-minute passing situation type player that does a good job spelling Joe. And Samaje's he's a big back too. I mean, he's not small, and he's capable of running the ball. He's got ability as a runner. So a lot of confidence in him, and he does a good job with the roles that we asked him to do. But Joe's usage has kind of increased on 3rd down. He's gotten better in pass pro. We challenged him last offseason to get that way, and he has gotten better. And he's done a good job for us, and he continued to do so as the season kind of moved along. And then Samaje really settled into that role and did a great job for us. So just really that's how we felt comfortable with the rotation and division of labor.
That being said, though, when you look at the usage rates on third down for Mixon, they were pretty consistent for what they were to 2020 when y'all had they were a split here and there.
Sure.
Would you like to still see him be able to be on the field more on third downs, and while y'all do get some spells, do you kind of need him to kind of be that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that it's shaken out has been about what it would be. I mean, it maybe be a little bit more, but over the course of a season and talking about 18 games and into the playoffs, you have to be able to spell those guys. And that's where, if we're going to take him out on a down, I'd rather take him out on 3rd down so he's good for 1st and 2nd down. Ultimately, it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be exactly how you want it every single time. But you definitely have to have a division of labor in that room. And you really need a 3rd back, too, which is where Chris Evans comes in for us. That does a good job in the pass game and those types of things, too. So there's got to be a division of labor. You're never going to have him take that many snaps, especially if you want to keep him fresh over the course of the season. But, at the end of the day, I'd like to see maybe a little bit more usage for him on 3rd down. But his production for us is going to be in the run game, and it's going to be as a pass catcher. And let Samaje take the pass protection part of it, generally, is how it worked out over the season. So.
CJ's another player who ends up in free agency this year. Obviously, we expect from a personality standpoint, not much team around the time, but from a production standpoint, tell us a little bit more about just how valuable he is and what you guys want to do and see some of the things you like.
Yeah, we'd love to have CJ back. There's the business part of it is not up to me. I love what CJ brought to our offense. I love what he brought to our team. I think he's a phenomenal leader. I think our guys love playing with him. I think he rallies our team as good as anybody as far as the leadership role is concerned in the locker room. He's a great worker, and he's a really productive tight end. And I think at one point he had like 35 targets and 36 targets and 35 catches. So really reliable when the ball goes his way. He made plays on it. And he's a reliable underneath factor because we got the receivers that can stretch the field, and he's the one that when we can check the ball down, he could get us 8, 9, 10, 12 yards on a 3 or 4 yard throw, and there's a lot of comfort that comes in that for the quarterback in particular, that he knows that if I got to check the ball down, CJ's going to get us yards, and he did that consistently over the course of the season. I thought this was his best season for us in his time that I've been with him in 3 years, and he's a guy that is a big part of our offense, and I certainly would like back.
You had 3 receivers that played almost every game. I'm sure you love that.
Yes.
But that's rare that that's going to happen every year. What is your vision and your view of the back of that group? Because do you guys need you feel like you need some fresh blood in there, some young pieces to be there as insurance? Because there's a lot of uncertainty behind it, like your big 3.
Yeah, I think you're always looking for how do you improve the depth of your team, and that's one of the rooms that we're very top heavy and we're excellent there. It's maybe our best room on the team, and they've performed that way. They're awesome. Auden Tate had the injury this year. He battled most of the year. He's been a really productive player for us. Mike Thomas, when he's had to go in, plus that role as the backup receiver is always going to be special teams heavy. So they got to be able to contribute, and Mike's done a great job on special teams. There's a return element that goes to that room most of the time that we have is who's going to be the returner and how can they get active on game day and where's their role. So there's a lot of gymnastics that go with working the back of the receiver room. Guys that we feel confident in that have been productive for us, and even Trent Taylor stepped in at the end of the year as a returner and did a nice job and really was productive. So you're always looking for competition. So if there's guys that we think that can push for that fourth role, that fifth role, the return role, whatever that is, this is the time of year where you try to address that. But the guys that we've had have done a nice job when they've been called upon. Auden Tate in particular and Mike Thomas, who they've been reliable 4 and 5s for when we've needed them to play.
You probably haven't gone in much into the draft, particularly deep into the second wave, but I mean, you know what these receiver classes are like. Is that nice to know that that's kind of a nice fit for you guys, where a day 3 receiver would kind of be a nice fit for what you guys are probably looking for?
Sure, there's the receiver classes anymore are pretty deep. It's just the way that college football's gone. It's where the football has gone in general with the passing game. There's going to be receivers available all throughout the course of the draft that fit whatever role you're looking for. There's slot guys, there's return guys, there's outside guys, there's big body. They're all there. So if you're looking for an improvement of competition, then you're going to be able to find it, and it's out there. And so that's part of the whole process of trying to get better competition and more depth in the rooms all the way across the team. But certainly the guys that we've had step up for us have done well, and it's the time of year where you're trying to keep building competition and try to get better from top to bottom.
After 3 years, Brian, you and Zach obviously have a level of familiarity,
Yep.
and there's the continuity you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
How can you guys together get better calling?
Yeah, I think you always, at the end of the year, you evaluate your processes, how you go about your week, what areas were you deficient in, that you didn't perform as well as you'd like. One of the things, for example, we were really, really good coming out of the half, but probably not as good to start the game. What leads to that? Is that the scheme you're playing against? Is it whatever the factors might be? And you look at how do you improve that process? Can we be better on the coaching side of putting our guys in better position to start a game? How do we get better? How do we get more consistent in the red zone? We got hot early in the year, and then we kind of weren't as productive at times when we needed to be in the red zone. So you look at all those things and try to determine on our side as a coaching staff, what is our process? Can we improve that somehow? Is there any way that Zach and I can work differently on it? Do we need to bring in other guys from the staff in different spots? You look at all those things to try to improve the process of getting to the game day. And really, those guys on the staff do a great job too. And maybe it's like we need to get more from them. Maybe we can get more input, more direction, and get guys growing a little bit as well, which is the benefit of being together for so many years, is you can push the growth of your staff on top of it. So I think it's a good spot to be in. It's exciting that we got all coordinators coming back for a 4th season. I think that means a lot. I think that's a big deal, especially when you're coming off a season where we might end up in a really short, condensed off season. There's not a whole lot of things that we have to do that's new.
And is it only natural for Joe Burrow to have a bigger voice in things?
Oh, absolutely. And he did over the course of the year, did a great job of his input. And he's only going to get more comfortable and more vocal about the things that he feels confident in and wants to see from the direction of the offense. And that's what we want. We want him to have that input and that ownership. It's his offense at the end of the day. And he's the one that's going to be out there on game day commanding it. And so whatever it is that he feels comfortable with, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that's the right thing for us.
Speaking of starting games, how much do you guys script ahead of time, and how